Pete. What was your beautiful premium package, Pete? I love that.
Premium package Pete.
Premium package
Pinot.
Pete.
I think Pinot Pete's a good one.
Pinot Pete's not
But
bad.
premium package is better.
Premium
You know what I
package.
think about as a gamer? I think about loot boxes. That
Oh yeah,
makes me very
absolutely.
angry.
You get more access if you pay a little extra. Yeah. Please subscribe to our premium
Got
package.
the battle pass. Battle pass Pete.
Battle Pass Pete. Oh, he was a pogue. So let me give a prefacing on this. Pete recently had to include a whole bunch of more names for those that he was getting his fundraising from, all the bundlers. Apparently he stopped back in April, and then about 2 weeks ago finally was like, okay, here's the rest of the names of the bundlers and big money fundraisers that I've been getting it from. So Politico, Huffington Post, The Atlantic, they've all done a bunch of articles, and The Atlantic especially did an article trying to expose some of what Pete did at McKinsey, the McKinsey Group. Shh, we're not allowed to talk about. Oh, he can
McKinsey
now.
and Company.
He can now. He's released from his NDA.
Oh.
Yeah, he's released, and so that's where The Atlantic came in. I'm going to try and cover a little bit of this, just in case anybody didn't know. Pete's a terrible choice. So from Politico.
Before you start in, I'm going to just ask this really incredibly random question that has nothing to do with this. Pete or Yang, if you had to vote for one?
Yang.
There we go. See, everyone can be a little happy. There we go.
I mean, at least Yang, from the best of my knowledge, is in a CIA plant. He's just an idiot.
There we go.
Among the donors was Hamilton James, executive vice chairman and former president of private equity giant Blackstone, and his wife Amy. So Blackstone, they do a lot of leveraged buyouts. That's basically, in real simple terms, that's where you make a small investment and then you get the bank to loan you a substantial amount of money forecasted on how well, say, like a business is doing for the buyout. So you just come in, you make a small investment, you tell the banks that you're going to pay, on this loan based off of what this business can produce. So just another, Pete's in there with the banks. New York socialite. Now I have a hunch that this is one of the socialites that was at that dinner when the protesters showed up outside the door and said, "Why aren't we invited in?" A New York socialite and philanthropist, Agnes Gund, dubbed the homecoming queen of the philanthropy world by New York Times in a recent profile, is another bundler. And then Adam Barth, a Houston-based partner at McKinsey and Company. Okay. McKinsey and Company. Let's talk about it for a minute. Pete Buttigieg was part of the McKinsey team that purchased the Postal Service, or that pushed for the Postal Service to get privatized. Now, let's dial this back out a little bit. I've seen arguments say, why would you want the government to take over your health care? Look how bad they suck at the Postal Service. Well, the reason why the Postal Service has had such a sharp decline is not just because of competition, but the push for privatization. There's been a long time coming that the Postal Service has been slowly getting chipped away at and destroyed.
Not to mention, they're the only company that I'm aware of that has ever had to do this. They have to prepay all of the pensions for every employee ahead of time.
Yeah, for like a decade.
Which makes absolutely no sense, because every time you hire someone, the Postal Service is like, we just lost $2 million.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And the United States Postal Service has been reporting billion-dollar losses. This is from Huffington Post. Annually for more than a decade. In 2010, the agency hired private consultants who advised it to cut back operation days, increase mail delivery times, automate postal service, and replace unionized labor with non-unionized labor. So he's a union buster. Go figure. It was fairly critical of revenue-raising ideas supported by union workers, like expanding financial services through the post office, warning they would be limited by high operating costs and the relatively light customer traffic of post offices compared to commercial retailers. So if you wonder why not everybody's on board with the postal banking that Elizabeth Warren proposed, Pete, the McKinsey Group. So he's anti-postal banking. He's anti getting better services for people in rural communities that might not have access to these things, like, say, a notary service. Like, you might not know a notary public within 50, 60, 70 miles, but you might have a post office next door. Pete's not for that. It would cost too much. And he's a union buster. Pete was part of the team. So from his campaign, Pete was part of a team tasked with generating ideas to increase revenue, like selling greeting cards and increasing the use of flat rate boxes and exploring new products to get more people to use the postal service and help make it profitable.
Genius.
Yeah, that's what Pete was doing. That's what they called him in for. High dollar consultant, and his contribution was the greeting cards, not cutting back. And I would be inclined to believe it if he didn't work for Blue Cross Blue Shield while with McKinsey Group. They laid off 1,000 workers almost immediately after he left. So he's been in it with privatization, pushing for privatization. He's a union buster, and he's worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield, the insurance company. And as soon as he left, the best thing they could figure out to do to reduce costs was just lay off 1,000 workers. They say that it wasn't, they weren't necessarily tied to each other, but the writing's on the walls, and you can make of it what you will.
Yeah.
It's a very gotta pay the mortgage type job. It seems like, we're just going to go in, tell everyone, cut workers. We're going to do leveraged buyouts and mergers and get money from all these people that do all this stuff. That's just how it works. I can just imagine every person that would make every argument for why, that's just business as usual, and that's just how it's done, and you just don't understand how the financial sector works, because it's brilliant and never fails.
And so I feel like, I just want to make sure I'm getting this straight. I'm trying to follow along. Are we talking about Mitt Romney or Pete Buttigieg at this point?
It sounds like Mitt Romney, right? But it's Pete Buttigieg. These are the people that he's accepting money from.
Exactly. Accepting money from. It's funny you should include that, because this roster includes a number of former fundraisers for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, but is heavy on bundlers who did not raise big money for previous Democratic presidential nominees like Adam Barth. So there's a bunch of people now that have heretofore until now, I think I used that wrong.
Just keep going. We're doing it live.
That have not participated in fundraising for presidential candidates.
Newcomers to the philanthropy scene.
But there's this sudden one candidate that has a lot of millionaires really disturbed. So for the first time in public knowledge, they are bundling and fundraising for Pete Buttigieg. It gets better.
Oh,
it gets better. And this is the best part. So you guys just did a story on the Afghan papers and the new revelations. Part of those revelations were also covered in the NDA were obstructed by the NDA with Pete Buttigieg. Okay. According to The Atlantic, disaster capitalism. So part of disaster capitalism is doing things like cashing in on countries that have been destroyed by war. It's a big one, it's why we're in Afghanistan.
Gotta plunder.
With McKinsey Group helping introduce more Western-styled capitalism to Afghanistan and help Western companies make Afghanistan and Iraq more profitable for them. So one of Pete's jobs as McKinsey Group was to try and find a better business model. Like how can we make Western-style capitalism a bigger thing in Iraq and Afghanistan? Because largely Iraq and Afghanistan, they don't operate like this. Like they don't operate, there's still people in Iraq that are bartering goods, like can of gas for food today kind of situation. We can't do that.
Build some McDonald's over there.
Fuck yeah, McDonald's. So imagine this. So imagine that we dumped, say, $4 million into a spot the size of an American county every single day. So why would we be doing that? Where would that money come back to? So we're taking taxpayer money, dumping it into a specific spot, and then Pete Buttigieg is coming over here to help them figure out how we can get that money back to American companies. That's exactly what Pete Buttigieg
So it's
wants.
literally privatization of tax dollars.
Privatization of tax dollars. It's just a funnel of your tax dollars back to American corporations, and Pete's had a big hand in it.
Well, I'm not surprised. Is anyone watching chat surprised? Is anyone that has ever watched any of our content like, oh my God, I didn't see any of that coming?
Nope.
That's what I said when I looked at the story. I was just like, man, is it going to feel like we're beating a dead horse? Like, we really hit him on the donors.
He's
really
not
hard,
dead,
but-
though. He's not dead, though.
Apparently that horse is not yet dead, and we can keep beating on it because there keep being new revelations. I mean, like, this is such like the pearl clutching is like the philanthropy. What do they call them? Socialites. I could just imagine
homecoming queen.
Reginald, we have another one we can give money to.
But that's the other thing about this. It's like Bernie pointed out in the last debate. Pete and Biden are fighting their best to get those billionaires. So when eventually Biden jumps out, you know that they're going to put every wish, every prayer into Pete. And I, for one, welcome it because this is a private to public to private fiasco that will probably not pay off. I want to see them put that $4 billion in, $4 billion into their pockets, spend that on Pete, lose it on Pete. We laugh.
Well, I mean, also you got to understand that like a lot of these campaigns, like there's another reason why they're doing so many of these big movers and shakers, like these Tom Steyers and things like that. And the DNC's broke. Bernie has more money in his campaign than the DNC as a whole has. They're freaking
But wait, I thought
broke.
Nancy Pelosi was Michael Jordan and marketed like nothing else and took more money than anyone else.
You know, the reason we all really like Nancy Pelosi is because of her fundraising. She's really good at the fundraise, and she makes a lot of fundraising. Why? There's another reason I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, no,
So
I mean
it had
you
no-
can't do a fundraising without fun. That's all I'm gonna say. Tell me I'm wrong. Someone tell me I'm wrong.
I lost what I was gonna say.
Don't stop me in the face, but someone tell me I'm wrong.
I don't know. Maybe we're all wrong.
Yeah.